Hey guys, how is it going? In today's episode of Cloud Engineering Project, we will be deploying one of the most important projects in cloud engineering. This video is very important, especially for those who do not have software engineering background. This video is very crucial because cloud engineering is in itself an extension of software engineering or software development, depending on how you view it. And this is one of the reasons why people who are not from computer science or software engineering background find it uneasy. Now, here is the disclaimer. While cloud engineering is an extension of software engineering or software development, to be honest, you do not need to have or be from a software background to become a cloud engineer. Although it helps if you are from a software or other related technical background. So enough of these talks. Let's get started. So the project that we will be talking about is a voting application, popularly known as the cat versus dog voting application. Basically, it is a web-based application that allows you to vote for either a cat or a dog and also view the result of your voting choice. As simple as this sounds, there are a lot of technical components, otherwise called services, that come together to make this voting system or voting application. This application is very popular because it follows the microservice architecture. If you don't understand what I mean by microservice architecture, don't worry too much at this stage. You will have an understanding of what a microservice is in a bit. So this application, aka voting app, has been divided into different services. We have the voting service, we have the result service, we have the worker service, and then we have the database service. Now, let me explain each of these services. The voting service allows voters to vote for either a cat or a dog. Okay? Then the result service obviously displays the results of the votes cast. The worker service typically handles background processing asynchronously. So when you vote using the voting service, your choice of vote is sent to the in-memory database. In this context, the in-memory database technology that was used is Redis. And then the result app displays your vote in real time. Okay. The worker service then pulls the votes from the in-memory database and puts the votes into the Postgres database for persistency. So I've mentioned two different kinds of databases here. We have the in-memory database, which is Redis, and then we have a persistent database, which is PostgreSQL. So you can think of the worker service as the service that helps to improve the performance of the overall voting system. So instead of the voting service to write directly into the persistent database, PostgreSQL, it won't. It writes into the in-memory database, and then the worker service goes into the in-memory database, pulls the votes from the in-memory database, and puts the votes into the Postgres database for persistency. So the result apps then fetches the vote cast from the in-memory database and displays it on the result service. Okay? The result service can also fetch the vote cast from the persistent database. The takeaway from this architectural explanation is this. We have a voting application that contains different services. These services are the voting service, the result service, the database services, and the worker service. So because one single application, aka our voting application, has a lot of services, this is why the application is called microservices. That is, small services that come together, microservices that come together to make one big application. Enough of all these architectural explanation. Let me quickly show you the application. Then after showing you the application, I will then show you how to deploy the application locally. And in the subsequent videos, I will show you how to deploy the application into the cloud. And this is our application, okay? So it's accessed on localhost 8080. So this is the voting service, right? So we need to also see our result service, okay? So I'll open another tab here and go to localhost 8081. And as you can see on the bottom right corner of my screen, there is no vote yet. So I'll go back to my voting service and then I will vote for cats, right? So if I come back to my result service, you will see that I've got one vote on the bottom right corner of my screen, and cat has the entire vote, 100%. So if I open another browser, right, and then try to use another browser to vote, so I'll quickly just go to localhost 8080, and I want to vote for cat again, right? So I can open my result service here or my result page here also. Let me do and say localhost 8081, and then you can see that cat still has 100% of votes, okay? And we've got 2 votes here, right? I can come back to my voting service and decide to vote for dogs, right? So let me open the result page now, and you can see that we've still got 2 votes, right? And cat now has 50% and dogs now has 50%. Now, as I have shown you the application, let me show you how to deploy the application. So to deploy the application, the first thing that I will need to do will be to go to the official GitHub page where the application is hosted. So I'll open my browser here. So this is the official page where the application is hosted. It is hosted on github.com/docker samples/example voting app. So this is the example voting app here. So what I would need to do will be to copy the URL of the application of this example voting app repository. So I'll copy it here by clicking on this small copy icon here. Then I'll go back to my VS Code. Now in my VS Code, what I would need to do first will be to create a completely new folder. So I'll do make directory, and I'll call the directory voting app. Okay, so I'll hit enter. So voting app directory has now been created. So I'll go into that directory, cd voting app. So I will now clone the project inside this voting app directory. Right, let me clear my screen. So I'll do git clone. Obviously, before you use git, you will need to have installed git on your local machine. So I'll do git clone, and I will paste the URL that I copied from the official GitHub page of the application, and I will hit enter. So the application is being cloned into my local machine. Okay, so after cloning the app, let me just quickly clear my screen. After cloning the app, then I will run the application by doing docker compose up /build. So what this means is that I want to build the app and I want to run the application. Okay, so I'll hit on enter for the command to be executed. No configuration file provided. Oh, sorry. I need to. Oh, yeah, I think I know what's happening. Inside of this voting app, if I do ls, then you see the example voting app here, which is the application, right? So I need to cd into that app, cd example. Yeah, so I'm inside that app now. Let me do dir to see, and then you will see all the files. This is basically the application. This is the code base of the application. So I will need to rerun the docker command, docker compose up --build. Docker is executing, and upon the completion of this, then the application will be live for us to quickly view. It's still running. This is probably going to take a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. So I'll pause this video and then come back when the deployment is completed. So as you can see, the application is up and running. So let's open our browser to quickly try the application. Let me quickly just go to localhost 8080. And this is our application. Okay, so it's accessed on localhost 8080. So this is the voting service, right? So we need to also see our result service. Okay, so I'll open another tab here and go to localhost 8081. And as you can see on the bottom right corner of my screen, there is no vote yet. So I'll go back to my voting service, and then I will vote for cats, right? So if I come back to my result service, you will see that I've got one vote on the bottom right corner of my screen, and cat has the entire vote, 100%. Before I complete this video, let me quickly show you all the services to confirm that all of our services that I have mentioned previously are all running, right? So I'll come back to my VS Code, right? And as you can see, the application is still up and running. I want to check for all the containers that are running. I can do docker ps-a to see all the containers that are running. And as you can see here, I've got my voting app result, which is the result service. This is the app service. This is the worker, right? This is the Postgres, which is the persistent database. And this is Redis, which is the in-memory database. So what you can see here are containers of all the services that are binded together to make one complete single application, right? So this is it, guys. This is how to deploy the voting application locally on your computer.